Let me tell you something. When a global superstar collapses mid performance, people don't just whisper, they start connecting dots that may not even be there. And that's exactly what happened with Megan Thee Stallion. Because one minute she's commanding the stage, and the next minute, hospital. Now, mind you, this wasn't just a little "I'm tired, let me sit down" situation. According to report, Megan had to be hospitalized after suffering extreme exhaustion, dehydration, and what was described as vasoconstriction in lower metabolic levels. And let me pause right there because that is not light. That is basically your body sending you a voice note saying, "Hey, we down here." Sources claim she was performing in a Broadway production of Moulin Rouge, the musical, playing the role of Harold Zidler. And during one of those performances, she pushed herself to the point where her body said, "Absolutely not." And here is the thing. She even admitted it herself. She said this was a wake up call, that she had been running on empty, trying to push through, almost fainting on stage. Ian, I don't know about you, but when a performer says they almost fainted in front of a live audience, that's scary. Let's take this a little deeper because this is where it gets interesting. Now, mind you, Megan is not new to performing. This is someone who has toured, danced, rapped, performed at award shows. She's conditioned. So for her to reach this level of exhaustion, that didn't just happen overnight. Which brings us to the backstory. Ever since she entered the industry, Megan has been in survival mode, from public controversies to legal battles to constantly having to prove herself in a very competitive space. She's been working nonstop. And sometimes, when you're in that kind of environment, rest starts to feel like a luxury instead of necessity. And here is the thing nobody wants to say out loud: the industry rewards burnout. Because the more visible you are, the more money is being made. The more you perform, the more you stay relevant. So even when your body's tired, there is this unspoken pressure to keep going. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened here, but allegedly, people believe that artists are sometimes pushed beyond healthy limits to maintain momentum. Let's talk about reaction because that's where things got messy. The moment news broke, social media did what social media always does. They turned into detectives, doctors, and conspiracy theorists overnight. Some people were saying, "Is she pregnant?" Others were like, "Is this a publicity stunt to promote the show?" And I'm sitting here like, can we let the girl drink water first? Because sometimes, and I know this might shock some people, exhaustion is just exhaustion. Now, there were almost moments that fueled the panic. Her stylist reportedly told people to pray for her, which immediately made everything feel 10 times more serious. Because when someone close to you says, "Pray," that's not casual language. But thankfully, she came back, she reassured her fans, and she's recovering. Now, here is my opinion, and I'm going to be real but fair. I don't think this was some grand scheme or setup. I think this was a classic case of overworking, mixed with pressure, mixed with not listening to your body soon enough. And let's be honest, a lot of us do that in real life too. You ignore the signs, you keep pushing in, then one day your body embarrasses you in public. Except most of us aren't doing it in a Broadway stage in front of hundreds of people. So I genuinely hope she takes that rest seriously because talent means nothing if your health is declining behind the scenes. Now, speaking of situations that are a little too close for comfort, let's talk about Nicki Minaj because what's happening around her lately? It's not just concerning, It's unsettling. So here is what's being said. Reports claims that a man by the name of Leland Chandler Adams was arrested after trespassing on Nicki Minaj's property and allegedly attempting to break into her home. And mind you, this wasn't his first run with the law. He had reportedly been arrested just days before in the same area, and somehow he was released. And here is where it gets weird. Shortly after being released, he allegedly returns to the same neighborhood and ends up on Nikki's property. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not just coincidence. That's pattern. And this is not even an isolated situation. Nikki has reportedly been dealing with multiple swatting incidents where forced emergency calls are made and police shows up at her house ready for chaos. Imagine being in your home and suddenly law enforcement is outside with weapons drawn because of a fake call. That's not just scary, that's dangerous. And people have started connecting that. Maybe too many dots. There are comparisons being made to past incidents involving other celebrities, like what happened around Rihanna, where individuals with questionable backgrounds suddenly appear in their space. Different states, similar pattern, same target type, high profile women. Now, I'm going to say this carefully because this is where speculations can go left. Some people believe there is something bigger going on. Others think it's just the reality of fame. When you're that visible, you attract unstable individuals. But either way, the system responding to it, that's the real issue. Because if someone can be arrested and released, then come back to the same location to get in the same person, that's a security failure. Period. My opinion, this is less about conspiracy and more about protection. Celebrities, especially women, are being exposed in ways that are not being taken seriously enough until something worse happens, and that's the uncomfortable truth. Now, stepping back from all this heavy energy for a second, let's talk about something that had me side eyeing the internet real quick. And yes, I'm talking about flow. Because why is it that people love the sound but suddenly lose interest when they see who's behind it? Now, mind you, Flow dropped music that people genuinely enjoyed. Smooth vocals, clean visuals, that nostalgic R&B vibe. They're doing everything right. But then you start seeing comments like, this would sound better if another group sang it. Excuse me? And here is the thing, people don't always see it directly, but the energy is very clear. There is this pattern where black artists create the blueprint and then others come in, replicate it, and receive wider support. That's not new. That's history repeating itself. And this is why it's harder for certain groups to break through, especially black girl groups. Talent is not the issue. Consistency is not the issue. Visibility and support, that's where things shift. We've seen it before. Groups with all the potential in the world, but without the backing, they fade into what could have been. So when people say support artists, it's not just about streaming a song. It's about recognizing who is setting the standard in the first place. And lastly, before I go, let's not ignore the quiet moves being made by Normani. Because while everybody was busy arguing online, she popped up on a masked singer like surprise, performing, dancing, reminding people that she's still that girl when it comes to the stage presence. And here is the irony. People always say she doesn't do enough, but every time she shows up, she delivers. So maybe the real question is not about talent, but about timing, support, and visibility. Because in this industry, being good is not always enough. Being seen, that's the real currency. And that brings me to the bigger picture. Fame looks glamorous, but behind it, it's pressure, expectation, overwork, and sometimes isolation. Whether it's Megan pushing her body too far, Nicki dealing with safety threats, or Flo fighting for recognition, the pattern is the same. The spotlight gives and the spotlight takes. So tell me what you think. Do you believe Megan's situation was just exhaustion, or is there something deeper going on behind the scene? And with Nicki, is this just the reality of fame, or should there be more serious protection in place? And let's talk about Flo. Are they being overlooked, or am I reaching? Because I'm telling you right now, something about all of this doesn't sit all the way right. Thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.